Hi, Alex. I thought for today's podcast, we could talk about something that everyone has to do at some point, introducing themselves in English. It might seem simple, but there are so many nuances.
Absolutely, Myra. I mean, whether you're at a job interview, a networking event, or just meeting new people while traveling, a good self-introduction can really set the tone.
Right. So let's start with the basics. When you're in a casual setting, like meeting someone at a party, what would be a good way to begin?
Well, I usually start with a friendly greeting. Something like, "Hi, I'm Alex. It's great to meet you." Short, sweet, and to the point.
That's perfect. And then you could add a little bit about yourself. Maybe mention what you do for a living or a hobby. For example, I'm Myra, and I work as a graphic designer. In my free time, I love painting landscapes.
Exactly! It gives the other person something to latch onto and start a conversation. What if you're in a more formal setting, like a business meeting?
In a business meeting, you want to be more professional. Start with your full name. Good morning.
That's very proper. I think it's also important to make eye contact and have good body language when you're doing a self-introduction in a formal setting. It shows confidence.
Agreed. Now, what about when you're introducing yourself in an academic environment, like at a conference or a university seminar?
I'd start with my name or my academic title if I have one. Hello, I'm Dr. Alex Smith. I'm a professor of psychology at University Name. And then I talk about my research interests. My current research focuses on the impact of social media on mental health.
That's a great way to establish your credibility. And if you're a student presenting at a seminar, you could say something like, "Hi, I'm your name. I'm a year student majoring in your major at University Name. I'm here to present my research on your research topic."
Right. And don't forget to practice your pronunciation. If you mispronounce a key word in your self-introduction, it can be a bit of a distraction.
Definitely. Let's talk about some common mistakes people make when introducing themselves in English. One that I often see is using too much jargon, especially in a non-technical setting.
Oh, yes. If you're at a social event and you start throwing around industry-specific terms that no one else understands, it can make you seem unapproachable. Keep it simple and relatable.
Another mistake is rambling on and on. People should be concise. You don't need to tell your life story in a self-introduction. Just the most relevant information.
True. And I think some people also forget to smile. A warm smile can really make your self-introduction more inviting.
Let's consider different cultural aspects, too. In some cultures, it's more common to be very humble in a self-introduction, while in others, being more assertive is the norm.
That's a great point. For example, in the United States, it's acceptable to be a bit more bold and highlight your achievements, but in some Asian cultures, you might focus more on your role in a group or your desire to learn.
Exactly. Now let's say you're introducing yourself to a group of people you'll be working with closely for a project. How would you make it more engaging?
I'd start with a fun fact about myself. Hi everyone, I'm Alex. Before I got into this line of work, I was a semi-professional salsa dancer. It breaks the ice and gives people something unexpected.
That's a great idea. And then you could talk about your skills that are relevant to the project. I'm really good at data analysis, and I'm looking forward to using those skills to help us achieve our project goals.
What if you're introducing yourself in a job interview? That's a high-stakes situation.
In a job interview, you want to make a strong first impression. Start with a confident greeting, like, "Good morning."
And don't forget to mention why you're interested in the job. I'm really excited about this opportunity because I believe my skills and passion align perfectly with what your company is looking for.
Right. Now, let's talk about how to handle follow-up questions after a self-introduction. If someone asks you more about your hobby, for example.
Well, you should be prepared to expand on what you said. If I mention painting landscapes, I could talk about the techniques I use or my favorite places to paint. I love using watercolor because of its fluidity. I often go to the local park to paint the beautiful scenery there.
Exactly. And if it's a business-related follow-up question, like someone asking for more details about your marketing strategy, you need to be able to explain it clearly and concisely.
Let's also think about online introductions, like on a professional networking site. How should that be different?
On a professional networking site, you have more space to elaborate. You can start with a catchy headline, like passionate marketer driving growth at company name. Then write a short summary of your career, your skills, and your achievements.
And don't forget to include relevant keywords. That can help people find you more easily. For example, if you're in the tech industry, include words like software development, AI, or cybersecurity if they apply to your work.
Now let's roll. Play a bit. I'll be someone at a networking event. You introduce yourself to me.
Hi there, I'm Alex. I'm in the software development field. I'm currently working on a really exciting project that aims to simplify the user experience for mobile banking apps. What about you?
Hi, Alex. I'm Myra. I'm in marketing. I specialize in digital marketing, especially social media marketing. It's great to meet someone from the tech side. I'm always interested in learning how we can better market tech products.
That's awesome. I think there's a lot of potential for collaboration between marketing and development. Maybe we could exchange contact information and chat more later.
Sure, that sounds great. Now let's switch. You be the person at the networking event, and I'll introduce myself. Hello, I'm Myra. I work for a non-profit organization that focuses on environmental conservation. We've been doing a lot of work recently on beach clean up initiatives.
Hi, Myra. That's really interesting. I'm Alex. I'm in the corporate world, but I'm really passionate about sustainability. I think there could be some ways our companies could partner on environmental projects.
That would be amazing. I'd love to hear more about your ideas.
Let's talk about how to introduce yourself in a foreign country where English might not be the first language. You want to be respectful of the local culture.
Right. You could start by learning a few basic greetings in the local language. For example, in France, you could start with Bonjour, je m'appelle Mira. Parlez, vous anglais? And then continue in English.
And it's also a good idea to show some knowledge of the local customs. You could say something like, I've always been fascinated by local tradition in your country, and I'm really looking forward to experiencing it during my stay.
What if you're introducing yourself in a video call? Are there any special considerations?
Well, you still need to have a good introduction, but you also need to pay attention to your appearance and your background. Make sure your background is clean and not too distracting, and look into the camera, not at your own image on the screen.
Good point. And your audio quality is crucial too. Test your microphone beforehand to make sure you're coming through clearly.
Let's talk about how to make yourself introduction memorable. One way is to use a unique opening line. For example, I'm not your average your profession. I once turned a failing project around in just 2 weeks.
That's attention, grabbing. Another way is to tell a short, relevant story. When I first got into marketing, I made a huge mistake, but it taught me a valuable lesson that I still use today.
What about when you're introducing yourself to a group of children? You need to use simpler language and be more energetic.
Absolutely. Hi kids, I'm Miss Myra. I'm here to teach you all about subject. And guess what? I have some really fun games and activities planned for us.
And you could also use props or visual aids to make it more engaging.
Now, let's consider the situation where you're introducing someone else. How do you do that effectively?
You should start by stating your relationship to the person you're introducing. Everyone, this is my colleague, Alex. He's been with our company for 3 years and is an expert in his field.
Right. And then give a brief overview of what they'll be doing or why they're important in that context. Alex is going to be presenting our new product line today. He's been working on it for months, and it's really going to revolutionize our industry.
Let's talk about how to handle nerves when introducing yourself. Deep breathing exercises can really help.
Yes, and also, practice your introduction several times beforehand. The more familiar you are with what you're going to say, the less nervous you'll be.
What if you make a mistake during your introduction? Don't panic. Just correct it smoothly and keep going. For example, if you mispronounce a word, say, sorry, I meant to say correct word. Anyway?
Exactly. Now let's think about how to adapt yourself. Introduction based on the age group of the people you're talking to.
For older people, you might want to be a bit more formal and respectful. Use proper titles like Mr., Mrs., or Doctor, and reference any shared experiences or historical events that they might relate to.
And for younger people, you could use more modern language and references. Talk about the latest trends in music, movies, or social media.
Let's talk about how to end a introduction. You could end with a call to action. For example, in a business setting, I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Or in a social setting, I hope we can hang out more and get to know each other better. Here's my number.
What if you're introducing yourself in a group where there are people from different backgrounds and cultures?
You need to be inclusive. Avoid using cultural references that might not be understood by everyone. Keep your language neutral and focus on common ground, like shared interests or goals.
Let's roll. Play one more time. This time, I'm a new employee at your company, and you're introducing me to the team.
Everyone, I'd like you to meet our new team member, Alex. Alex comes to us with a lot of experience in his field. He's worked on some really impressive projects in the past. I'm sure he'll be a great asset to our team. Alex, would you like to say a few words?
Thanks, Myra. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. I'm looking forward to collaborating with all of you and contributing to the success of our projects. I'm always open to new ideas and suggestions, so don't hesitate to approach me.
That was great. Now, let's sum up everything we've talked about. Introducing yourself in English requires tailoring your message to the context, being clear and concise, avoiding common mistakes, and being aware of cultural differences.
Exactly! And with practice, anyone can become a master itself. Introductions in English, whether it's in a job interview, a social gathering, or an academic setting, a good introduction can open a lot of doors.
Well, that's all for today's episode of Everyday English Podcast. Thanks for listening, and we hope you'll put these tips to use in your next introduction.
Bye for now.